Welcome back to the Altars and Ashes podcast. I'm BD Fleming.
I'm Austin Tucker.
And I'm Robbie Stringer.
And today we're going to talk about the fact that Christians rebuild the world first by rebuilding the home. The core idea is simple. The Christian home is where we worship, work, disciple, and then future faithfulness for generations to come. Biblically, the home is one of the main places where life is built. It's where children learn what worship looks like, where work is either honored or despised. It's where money is either stewarded or wasted. It's where authority is respected or resisted. And it's where hospitality is either practiced or neglected. And so the home is where a family learns whether Christ is Lord just on Sunday morning or throughout the week at the dinner table, in the budget, on the calendar, through the different chores that happen, through the books that we read and study, and even in the conversations that we have in the life of the home. And so this whole episode is about the fact that the home is not a side issue. It is not a place where we escape to after real life happens. It is real life. And so it is where the Christian life is really developed. And so if we want to rebuild Christian culture, we cannot skip the culture of the home. What do you guys think?
True.
Good.
Amen.
Good. Episode done.
That's
gentlemen, we are sitting in our mother's basement again, right? That's where we're at. That's the last time we were in the garage. Somebody commented and said we were in our mother's basement. So we're back in the basement.
Bunch of chin beards.
Chin beards
And
in
their
this guy.
mother's basement.
Well, the thing is, we got kicked out of our mom's basement,
Right.
because we are traitors to America.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it is.
That is our
that
most
was
recent.
the latest comment.
Yeah.
That we are traitors to America.
You know, if you're going to call me a traitor to America, please tell me why. I would like to know why.
You don't deserve to know why.
I don't. Just, hang me now.
How much of your life have you dedicated to teaching American history, economics?
It's like your favorite subject.
Quite a bit. Quite a bit.
That's all you do.
Like I really enjoyed the 250 celebration this past week. We went and saw fireworks, and I've been like I'm watching a documentary on the War for Independence now. I'm reading a biography about George Washington.
Is this Ron Chernows?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that was huge too.
Yeah, it's really, it's really, you know what I do is in the summertime, I always pick a really thick biography to read because I have more time in the summer. But I'm really doing all of this so I can betray America.
Yes.
I've got to understand it so I can destroy it.
Right.
That's what it is.
His favorite character in all of history is actually Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, he wasn't the good guy. I thought he was the hero.
I always heard him talk about how much he loved Benedict, and what was that biblical character? Judas.
Oh,
Judas.
Benedict and Judas.
Yeah, there we go.
Isn't there something like on Dante's Inferno?
I got to read that first.
Where there's like 3 traitors that are in hell, and it's Judas and like 2 other people. I can't remember who.
Oh, I have heard that.
Yeah,
I don't know who else
like
it is.
that.
Robbie Stringer.
Yeah.
It's written
on the very bottom. Yeah,
thousands of years ago. We enjoyed the 250th too. We read, I had like 37 books out, and I told Skylar that we were going to stay up for 24 hours, and I was just going to read to her about American history, and I had her believing it. She was like, "Oh, Dad." And so like she went and got in the shower, and she came out, and I was like, "You ready to start?" And she was like, but she didn't say no. So.
I love that she believed that about you. That's what you do.
I was only like 90% sure that I would.
If she would have gone with it, you would have probably just done it. Yeah,
100%. So we did. We talked about the Bill of Rights. We talked about the founding, and so any chance I can get to talk about that,
I tell you,
so that way we can betray it later.
Learning about
got to know your enemy.
Right.
Learning about the original draft.
Yeah.
To the Declaration of Independence. I sent it to you guys, and Robbie's like, "Yeah, I already knew that," and you're like, "Yeah, I already knew that." I had no idea that they were dealing with the slave trade and everything in the draft.
Yeah,
how it was a problem.
They had to pull it out because there wasn't enough consensus,
and there had to be one major issue.
Yeah,
and that's what they
were
like.
After. Let future generations deal with that, and we did. To be fair,
eventually,
we did. Yeah, so like they. But I mean, there's so much that could be learned just from that period of the First and Second Continental Congress, like on how to actually get things done that our Christian nationalists could learn from, actually. And I'm including myself in that.
They were Christian nationalists.
I know they were, but that's what I'm saying.
What they were.
But you got to. What they did is they found they were basically like, here's the deal. Yes, slavery is wrong. We need to deal with that, but we've got to also be alive to deal with that. Yeah. And so we need to kind of have this country, and we need to win this war, so that way we can deal with.
Well, that I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of hijacking this and turning this into an American history podcast, but and I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that. Because how else do I betray it?
By talking more about the greatness.
But our
of
founding fathers, to say that it was a Christian nationalist, like our founding fathers, actually, they only really agreed on one thing: we should be independent.
Yeah,
they all had very different views on various different things.
100%. Each state had very different views.
Right, and individuals.
Yes.
And so it's really hard for anybody to say, the founding fathers said blank.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there might have been a founding father that said that, but there also might have been a founding father that did not agree with it.
Well,
so,
I watched a documentary.
I think he's trying to say that you're wrong about Christian nationalism.
I'm just saying there were some who were certainly not. I don't think Jefferson would. Of course, it does depend on how you define it too.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, in a sense, he was.
If you mean that the language and morals of the Bible and Christianity are what our founding fathers were swimming in and lived and breathed in.
Here's the deal.
I think it's more than swimming.
Yes.
It's what they put forward for what they would consider the only way to run a nation.
Yes, but also Franklin actually made it less theistic. So the original draft that Jefferson brought forward, Franklin was like, we can't do that.
Yeah,
it's got to be less.
Yeah, I know. I believe one thing is that Jefferson, who is generally considered one of the least religious as far as like Orthodox Christian of our founding fathers,
also still my favorite one.
Although he did, now I see why he's looking to betray it. But he loved the moral precepts of Jesus.
Yes.
Even though he was not necessarily a Trinitarian or anything like that. He, I believe, in the original draft, when instead of life, liberty, and the pursuit of I'm sorry, that's not
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
That's not. Life, liberty. It originally said no. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different part. The part where he says we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Yep.
Originally, it said we hold these truths to be sacred.
Yes.
Which is a religious.
Yes, and that's what I'm talking about. Franklin pulled that back. Self-evident.
Right. Yeah. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Is that when you're going into what the founding fathers believed or didn't believe, it is a much more complicated issue in some ways.
If you go sacred, that's religious.
Mm-hmm.
By going self-evident, he was applying to natural theology.
Natural law.
Yes.
And the Christians could agree with that.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Christianity gave the foundation for what we know as natural law.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying, though. When I say that as Christian nationalists, which I define myself that way, I would take that moniker. The interesting part is we could actually do a much better job if we talked about all the things that we do agree on. Now, I'm not trying to say like totally ecumenical, you know what I mean? But what I would say is you take something like the Nicene Creed, and if we could use that as like the fundamental thing that brought us together, and don't deviate too far from that, because yes, we have our differences, and yes, those differences are important, and they are important enough to even separate denominationally. But it's like if you have secularism or Nicene Creed Christianity, which one do you want? I take the Nicene Creed Christianity all day.
Okay, so the documentary I watched over the weekend, it was all about Washington and the conversations he had with different theological leaders, because the problem was he was leading the army, and one state, Rhode Island, was Baptist.
Yeah.
You had another state that was Anglican. He literally spoke to religious leaders in every one of these states because the states had official religion back then.
Yes.
And it was kind of like, we have to agree. And he went back to like the concept of we're all Nicene Christians.
Yeah.
That was actually part of the discussion that actually got the other states to actually agree enough for the sake of the nations.
Yep.
So we were very much a Christian nation when Washington had to go speak to religious leaders of all these different denominations concerning the direction and leading of the nation. I think it was an interesting
listen,
documentary. It's a part of history I've never heard anybody talk about.
The best thing people could do is actually read the documents from that time period. Like, read the primary sources that they wrote. And if you can't do that, if for whatever reason you're like that, some of their readings are too elevated or whatever, read some of the biographies of the founder. Like, who did John Adams? That wasn't David McCullough. Who was that? John Adams one.
I don't know. I didn't read that.
You haven't read that one yet?
No, I
really
you need
like
to read
John
that one next
Adams.
summer. That was a great one.
Yeah.
Okay. Watch the documentary.
Okay.
They did a documentary on the book. It's a great one. Anyway, all that leads us to the home.
And how does it lead us to the home again?
Because we actually have to
This is our
start the podcast.
homeland.
Yes.
And speaking of homeland,
Yes.
the home.
The home.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. The household is not a neutral ground. So we've talked a lot about, the fact that, the public spaces, education, we've talked about all these things. There is no neutrality. In fact, we did a whole episode on the myth of neutrality. And so one of the things that we have to talk about is that the home is the place where, here's what I perceive. You guys tell me where I'm wrong. Modern folks are at work and then they go pick up their kids or they go out to eat or whatever. And home is just like a place you go to sort of unwind and sleep and then go back out to real life. And I think that does a fundamental disservice to Christendom, because what I think that we need to do is remember that the home is the place of formation. We're forming the character of our children. We're forming the character of our home. And one of the things that I talk about in this fantastic book, Strongholds of the Kingdom, is that the stronger your home is, the less chance there is of your government becoming tyrannical.
100%.
You're talking about the homes in general of the people of the nation.
Yeah. The stronger the homes are in general, the less chance there is that the government has the ability to become tyrannical.
Just think about this on a practical level. What raises up better men? Having a father in the home or only female influence? What will raise up men
father in the home
of courage
Yeah.
and strength and resolve? And that being called to manhood is something that only men can do for boys.
There's a lot of people who say that it doesn't matter. Yeah. My mom is my mom and my dad. That's all I really needed. Look, if that is all you had, then I'm sure I hope she did the best job that she could do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've really been around both scenarios, you've seen homes where you have the father that's working, that's involved, that's a good example, and places where the father is absent or a bad example, you see the difference. I mean, I don't even think there should even really be a debate on that. I think it's very, very clear.
Yeah. Well, what is it? The percentage of incarcerated individuals in the United States, it's like 80-something% are fathers.
I love this. I've gone back and listened to some of our episodes. Me and you throw out statistics, and we're like, we'll put it in the show notes, and we never do it.
Let's see here.
It's 900%.
Yeah. oh, guys, I was at the church that my family is pastor, and the Sunday school teacher is very anti-Calvinist and everything else. He gets up and he's like, most people don't even realize, and he said Southern Baptist and Presbyterian and some other group, he's like 80-something% of them don't even believe in hell. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I went, that ain't true. And Heather like, just chill. Just chill. And I'm like, I afterwards, I want to, because I always, in apologetics, I always say that joke. Most people don't realize that 84.5% of all statistics are made up on the spot. I wanted to go up and shake his hand and tell him that, but I didn't. I walked away.
Yeah. That was very mature of you to not do that. But yeah, no, you're right. And it looks like you're maybe looking the quote up, but the point is, homes that there's not a dad in the home are more likely, let's just say it that way, to end up with children who are incarcerated.
One thing I think you're getting at too, though, is that you say that like a lot of people think of you got our outside world that's busy, right? Yeah. We've got our jobs.
Yep.
And we've got our people have school, they have all these different things, and then they come home, and of course it is a place that you sleep and that you rest.
Certainly.
I think what you're saying is it shouldn't be just that.
That's right.
It needs to be more than there is an active aspect of the home.
Absolutely.
And part of that is definitely obvious. You got to mow the grass.
Sure.
The house has to be clean. The dishes has to be done.
Mhm.
Cooking has to be done.
You got to milk the cows.
You got to milk the cows, right? Or goats or whatever.
Well, if you're in the Middle East, you're milking goats pretty much.
Or just hopping under and eating from the goat.
Yeah.
And maybe turning a goat into a wife if you're a Muslim. Anyways, go ahead.
I've seen some of those videos where they talk about it's nuts. Anyway, we totally sidebar.
Anyway,
go ahead.
Anyway, there's steps of activeness beyond that, and that's especially true when you have children.
Okay,
because part of what your job is, there's a sense where if it's just a husband and a wife, you are shaping each other. There is a responsibility you have to each other in the Lord, but especially if you have children, you have to teach those children.
Yeah,
you've got to correct those children. You've got to model things for those children. And so while there isn't a certain aspect of rest of the home, it can't be only that. There has to be some very intentional formation that happens there as well.
So in the book, I say, I said, a rightly ordered household teaches self-governance, responsibility, authority, and obedience, which are the very foundations of a free and flourishing society and a safeguard against tyranny.
You know what one really jumped out at me when I was reading that, because it popped out at me at the time, and I remember when you just said that. The one that talks about authority.
Yeah.
As someone that's worked with teenagers, both in a school setting and in a church setting.
Yep. You can tell the homes.
You can tell by the way they talk to their authority figures in the school.
Yep. What
kind of authority they have at home.
That's right.
Because like I've seen people that the way they talk to authority, whether it's the way that you see them talk to their parents when you're out at the store or whatever.
Yep.
Or stories you hear about confrontations with the police that people have.
Yep.
And it's like when I was
they'd never been spanked ever before.
Yeah. When I was that age, it would never even have occurred to me to behave that way. And of course, the reason is because at home, if I disrespected my parents, I was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
If I disrespected, if there was a teacher at school that I disrespected, I knew I was going to be in huge trouble. And so that instilled in me a respect for authority that then branched out to all of these other areas.
As it should.
As it should, right? And so people that are, I guess maybe one extreme or the other, you're so authoritative and burdening on your kids that you make them bitter and rebellious, right? It's, the Ephesians says to not provoke your children to wrath. And then you have the other extreme where you're so permissive that you don't regulate your kids at all. Yeah. You don't punish them at all, and so they don't expect anybody else to do that either.
And the thing is, there's an old adage with teenagers, with children, you're a little bit more heavy-handed. This is the law. You try to explain, but their ability to comprehend is not all there. So sometimes this is the rule. You break this rule, you get paddled. That's the end of the story. Okay. They get older. By the time they're 12 or 13, you really don't want to paddle. It's more or less trying to the rod is anything that drives wisdom to the heart of the child. At the end of the day, teenagers are like a bar of soap. You hold them too tight, they slip out and run away. You hold them too loosely, they fall through your hands. So there's this balance of grace and law that I think a good father has to have, where it's like, I'm going to pick my battles. I'm going to deal with the things that regulate, make you a better man or a better woman. At a certain point in our household, unless it was direct disobedience, it didn't have severe punishment. So if they did something foolishness is bound to the heart child. It's going to happen. The rod drives it far from them. I correct. But when it's direct disobedience against authority, then the hammer really comes down, because that's what they have to have in order to be good citizens of society.
Yep.
They have to respect authority. And so, like, I remember Doug Wilson had a big influence on me. My goal is by the time they were 16 to start giving them a lot of freedom on a leash.
Yeah, sit with them while they're watching this movie and talk
let
about
them have
it
the
or whatever.
freedom.
Yeah.
And I told my kids early on, you can be friends with anybody in this bucket.
Right.
I'm not going to tell them who to be friends with, but if you're friends with these kids, if you're going out and it's going to be a late movie, I will be okay with that.
So I'm going to stop you right there because you're deviating into next episode.
Sorry.
But what I think you are saying that could be useful for this episode is that, there is male headship and order in the home. And so one of the things that I had written down that's not necessarily explicitly laid out in here, but an honorable father is a provider, a priest, and a teacher in the home. And he's, the steward of the direction of the home. And so, with that said, that means he shapes the priorities, the conversations. He should be the one, setting. And I say this knowing that not all men are wired this way, but like shaping the budget of the home and things like that. Because to me, a budget is a moral document.
Mm-hmm.
It tells what matters, right? Where you spend your money tells what matters in the home.
Amen.
And so I think that's a good way to kind of determine where the home is at. And the other thing, and I'm just going to lay this one other thing out, and then I want you to jump in because I saw your mouth open twice, and I just keep stopping you. Sorry. I want to talk about the fact that the home is not a place of production anymore. And we've sort of hinted about this in various ones about, the Industrial Revolution sort of changed the way homes were. But one of the things that has to be reclaimed is a productive home. And I know I'm on the right track. I'll tell you why. New Christendom just put a new book out on that. And so other people are thinking the same thing. We're ahead of them. But we've got to figure out a way to bring production back to the home. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to have a farm. That doesn't mean that everybody has to have a garden or whatever. It could be that you create a tiny little publishing company that meets and does podcasts in your garage,
mother's basement
to overthrow America.
Yes, to overthrow America. So, all right, Robbie, go ahead.
All I was going to say is because you mentioned the economics thing, and it's like these are things that people don't even think about when you're a lot sometimes because kids are always going to come up to their parents, and say, "Hey, can we buy blank?"
Yes,
and you're always going to eventually at some point have to say no. And you can say no.
Yeah.
Or you can, and Austin, I think, is right. At a certain age, you just say no, because you're not going to be able to explain to your 4-year-old,
we got a mortgage.
Certain, exactly. But at a certain point, they need to know why can't we buy that? Well, because we have a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
And God has given. That's the amount of money that God has given us. And some people have more money than us. Some people have less, but this is the amount that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to spend that money in a way that God would want us to.
Wisely.
And it needs to be wise. And it also there needs to be an order to it. We got to find out what is the most important things to spend money on. And if we start putting, every toy that we see or candy at the top and put all of our money on that, then we don't have money to pay the rent.
Yeah.
We don't have enough money to spend on food, and we don't have the money to give to the church faithfully like we're supposed to. And you can take these, what could start out as very annoying, Daddy, can we buy this? But you can take that and you can turn it into a teaching lesson.
Wisdom.
Right.
Yeah.
And hopefully they may not get it the first time you say it.
They won't. Yeah.
But if you say it over and over again, someday when they're all of a sudden having to spend their own money and realize, oh wait, there are things that I have to spend money on before I can start thinking about what I want to buy.
As a man with now 2 adult children, it's been fun watching them go. They were all about spending my money.
Yes.
But now that they have some responsibilities and stuff, it's fun watching them go, I want that, but I'm not going to spend money on that right now because I don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, you teach them that and you tell them that, but there's some of those things I don't think they get until they're managing their own money.
Yep.
But they're going to remember what you said, and they're going to remember what you displayed. and what you taught them about how they should handle their money. I figured I better hit this so it's on record. So 85% of fatherless men were incarcerated. So 85% of the incarcerated
wait.
people,
There's two different ways you said that.
let me correct it.
Okay.
Fulton County jail system in Georgia, 1992, surveyed 85% of their male population was fatherless. Okay. So the latest percentage is a national percentage, and it comes from the Bureau of Justice. 64.5% of male and female incarcerated nationwide come from fatherless homes.
64%. That's nearly 2/3.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think
That's
about
nationwide.
That's nationwide,
Yeah.
and that's
I mean,
male and
that's a
female.
big sample
It's
size.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And so fathers have a major.
outside. I mean, it's an outsized difference.
It is
Like all moms are great. We love moms. Yeah, I've got 2 daughters. I've got a wife. You guys have wives. You guys have moms. We all actually, I don't know if you know this or not, we all came from moms.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Where do babibies come from?
That's a
I don't
different
think that's
episode.
right. I'm Googling
You're-
that.
Go ahead and Google it.
Okay.
So moms are amazing. But one of the other, back me up here. See if you, while you're on that same search thing, the statistic is something that like 90% of the homes where the father is present in church, the kids will continue in church. Whereas if it's just the mom taking them to church, they'll go while their mom goes, but then after, they're out of the house, they pretty much stop. And so men have an outsized difference, but more importantly than just the male headship piece, what we're really trying to get at is households should produce. They should teach the kids how to worship. They should teach wisdom, like you were talking about. They should teach about money and wealth. They should teach culture. They should teach about hospitality,
Work.
So work. All these things are taught in the home, and we don't in education. We teach facts. We teach dates. We teach in good schools. We teach how to think. But your job as a teacher is not to teach the kid how to be hospitable, how to be wise, how to produce. Right? Those are things that are taught in home. Now you can foster that. You can help out, but that's what home is for.
So,
did you find any statistics on
yes, I did. So that's from a 2003 Baptist Press article ran by Lifeway.
Lifeway. Okay.
And they said when the father is the first person in the household to become a Christian, there's a 93% probability that the rest of the family will follow. And then it brought up other statistics. In 1994, in Switzerland, there was a study when both parents attend church regularly, 33% of the time, the children end up becoming regular church attenders.
And that's in Switzerland.
That's in Switzerland.
Yeah,
where
that's
church
in
attendance
Switzerland.
drops.
It's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Where the dad goes, the family goes, and that's not downplaying moms.
That's not a bad thing, right?
No,
that's a good thing.
And I'm going to say I praise God for the single moms that are doing their best.
Yes.
I rejoice in them. I pray for them. I think the church should be there for them. But let's be honest. As a mother who's a single mother, do you want your kids to raise their children as single parents?
Right.
No.
And single moms, I would say keep doing the best you can. Find a good male role model for your kids.
That's where good men's groups and pastors can come and help.
I've seen this in the school.
Now that doesn't replace a dad.
When
just
you
to be clear.
when you
No,
have
but you want to do
We live in a world where the ideal is not always
Correct.
possible.
Correct.
It's a fallen
Correct.
world.
well in our school, even when we have mothers that are single moms, or when you have families where the mother is the dominant and you don't ever hear about the dad, a lot of the times when we are harsh or hard with those kids, mom's like, you don't need to be so hard with Johnny. And I'm sitting there and I've pulled more than one mom aside saying, if you want Johnny to be called to manhood, you need to let us treat him like a young man and be rough with him from time to time.
Yeah.
They don't need to
bat
be
him around a
babied.
little bit.
They don't need to be babied. They need to be told the truth without a silver tongue.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
you're
that's
right.
the problem. Everybody wants you to speak to these kids like they're babies. It's like our job is not to keep babies. Our job is to raise men and women. And when that comes into sight, all of a sudden you realize, holy crap, I can't keep babying them.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to speak the truth to them. I speak it in love, but I'm not going to do it with a silver tongue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. little bit of a serrated edge to it.
They need serrated edge.
Yeah.
That's what dads naturally bring. Dads usually bring, in most family dynamics, dads are the fun ones. We're the ones who throw them super high, make mom cringe. We're the ones who wrestle them, throw them into the bed, play around with them. We're the ones who rough them up. And we're also the ones who are scary.
Yeah.
When they cross that line.
Yeah.
I can remember we used to, I come from a home where my parents divorced, and my mom would try to spank us, and we would laugh at her. It was, three boys in the home at that time. We would laugh at her, and it made her so mad, But the worst thing that could happen was when you go back to your dad's, I'm going to tell him. Then it was like, oh crap, all bets are off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then later we moved in with dad because like we needed that, structure, let's just say. And so the point there is like, I think that's a normal and that's a good thing. It's the way God designed men to be.
Yeah.
And he designed women to be women. And when they work together the right way, like it's beautiful.
When moms are in the picture and they're godly moms who are pointing to godhood, but they're also super empathetic and loving and pampering and caring, that gives the kids that insight. And then when dad shows up with the harshness of the world and being the warrior, but somebody who genuinely loves the kids,
right,
it raises a balanced kid.
Yeah.
I think I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah, go.
I think that Austin really hit on about dads being the disciplinarian, but also fun.
Yes.
At the same time, because a lot of people think that you can only be one of those things, but I think bringing a level of authority and a sense of fun to your children's lives is a great way to look at the dual. Not these are the only jobs of a dad, but because if you only bring one of those things, you're going to have a problem. But like my dad, I was very scared of my dad. Not in an over the top way.
Yeah, everybody should be scared of
but
dad.
like I was afraid of him getting upset and punishing me or something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I have memories. Like I have one particular memory that popped in my head when we first moved to Florida. I moved from like what at the time was a basketball state to a football state.
Yep.
And so I was watching my first ever college football national championship on TV. I believe Florida State was playing.
First Tennessee. 98?
Might have been, yeah.
Yeah, we won.
Yeah. but I was like watching it, and my mom was like, all right, it's your bedtime, and the game wasn't over yet.
Yeah.
And he's and I'm going back and forth with my mom, not in a disrespectful way, but I'm like, no, let me stay. And my dad like gets in the middle of it. He goes, Cindy, all of his friends are going to be talking about this tomorrow. Let him watch the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, that's kind of what I'm, just an example of what I'm talking about is you bring the fun, but you also bring the structure and discipline as well.
Well, it's like my dad, I have memories. We'd go to the job sites. He had an industrial commercial painting business.
Yeah.
Mm.
And back in the 90s, OSHA wasn't on all the properties as much. Things were a little bit more laid back. And I remember being 12 years old. And it's funny, I hear people talk about 100 feet. If you've never been up 100 feet, you don't know what it is. Most people...
That's what, like 10 stories almost, isn't it?
It's a little bit more than 10 stories.
Jeez, yeah, that's
but
a lot.
It's up there. And I'll never forget, like, Dad taking me up in a pick. And I would climb up the scaffolding. My mom would roll up on those job sites and about lose her ever-loving cheese. I remember being 7 years old and throwing a ring at one of those carnivals, and it landed on this bottle, and I won a pocket knife.
Yeah.
6 years old. Mom, he don't need that. I remember Dad going, Bobby, every 6-year-old boy needs a pocket knife. Leave him alone.
Heck yeah.
And those things, and I find myself doing the same thing with my boys.
Yeah. With
BB guns and stuff, because moms have this tendency towards protection.
Yeah.
Which
is what they're designed to do.
They're designed to do. And I remember telling Colin, how high can you get up that tree?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is, I think that's part of God's design.
Yeah.
We build the fire in our boys and in our daughters, really, even.
Yeah.
Because if you're raising daughters that don't have a little bit of fire in them, you haven't really done well either.
Yeah. There's got to be a little bit of toughness.
You got to toughen them up a little bit.
You know what?
You want to hear a cool story?
masculine.
Want to hear a cool story? When we went up to New Jersey this year, we met one of the families that was leading the conference, and they had a couple kids, and they had not like a tire swing, but it was one of those like things that's supposed to be like a tire swing, but it's not rubber, and it got stuck in the tree, and it had been up there for months, and none of them had wanted to climb up there and get it. And I was like, I bet Skylar could get it. And I challenged Skylar. Now I had to be standing under her. I had to walk her through, but she wanted to get down so many times. And I was like, look, that boy over there is 11. I was like, you never know. He sees you do that. He might be really embarrassed. He might like you, you know? And so she gets up there and she climbs this tree and goes way out on the edge and gets this thing down that none of them had done. And I was super proud of her. And it was just
may God rest her soul.
Yeah, that was the end of her. And now, to be fair, she is like a little tomboy anyway.
Yeah.
But that's a perfect example of where like a mom would have been like, "Don't even think about it." And I was like, "I bet you could do it. Let's try it." You know. I love being a dad. I think it's great. I think it's great.
I've told so many young first-time parents in our church over the years, this is going to be one of the hardest and funnest adventures of your entire life.
It is. There is an aspect that's hard.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the aversion that people have towards having kids today, the part of it that is just like, man, that's such a responsibility, and it's hard and it's tiring, and it's like, yes.
Yeah,
that's true.
Anything really worth doing in life,
it's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
And there's a payoff with it too.
Yes.
You know, like anything you're saying that's good. Going to college is hard.
Yes.
You know, working and getting a promotion is hard.
Or losing that promotion.
You know, that actually, I think, is pretty easy.
I'll tell you exactly how you can do it if you want to know. Just hit me up. I can give you some hints. Hey, all right. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. How do we help the household be productive again? Because we are in a society that is so consumer focused. Let me give you an example. I probably have 7 or 8 just different memberships or, subscriptions to various things. We get groceries delivered. We've got Prime delivery. And so what I'm thinking is that we just live in a culture that is so focused on now, right? And it's really easy to become a consumer instead of a producer. And so I said earlier, you don't have to have a homestead. You don't have to have a farm. You don't have to have a garden. You don't have to do all these things, but everybody can do something to be more of a producer. Let me give you an example. You were talking about your, kid wanting the thing, and you said, God gave us this. This is what we have right now. You're teaching wisdom. But is there a way to switch that conversation into just something like, hey, I'm glad you want that. I think you do. You need that. That'd be so cool.
To earn it?
What can you do? Let's go home. Let's see if we can make something that we can sell, or, lemonade stands. I don't even think you can do a lemonade stand now, because like you'll probably get some sort of government intervention.
That did happen to a kid. I saw that in the news a couple of years ago.
But the point is like, we've started this media company, in a sense, to be something that we could potentially someday pass on to our people. And even if it doesn't, that's fine. We're producing something, right? So how do we help our people become producers?
I tell you, one of the best examples I've seen of that within the last couple of years is Pastor Todd.
Yeah.
At Harborview, or not Harbor. What's this? What's the name?
Souls Harbor?
No, it's not Souls Harbor. Harborview Baptist. He was a handyman, and he pastored a small church, and his kids would show up every time he was building something. And those kids, like, he would teach them how to hang a door.
Yeah.
He would teach them, and they got to the point where I had some electrical issues, and his son came over to our house. He's 16 years old, figures out what I could not figure out, helped rewire it. And it's funny because, like, we pay him, and it's gotten to the point, like, when those boys are home from college or during the summer or whatever, if the fields need bush hogging, I call them. And he did all these things with his kids and made them very productive. And they are so gifted and it made me go, man, I wish I'd have done that stuff with my kids.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to do half the stuff that Pastor Todd knows how to do.
Yeah.
He's just a very gifted man.
Although there's so many videos out there now to learn stuff
YouTube,
these days.
Yeah. But I remember I grew up in a family that was entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We always my dad was always like, we got businesses, work one of them.
Yep.
And if I remember I wanted a car, and my dad, I grew up upper middle class. My dad had 100-something employees. And so I went to private schools back before there were any kind of scholarships. And so all my friends had professional parents.
Yeah.
And they were getting Corvettes and trucks and everything when I turned 16. I came to my dad. I go, Dad, so-and-so got this, so-and-so got that. I turned 16. What am I going to get?
Yeah.
And my dad kind of
Which is literally the worst way to try to
It's the
get
worst
that.
way.
Yeah.
my dad laughed at me. He goes, son, at that time we had 3 businesses. Our family owns 3 businesses. Pick one of them and work it. And I'll never forget, I scrubbed floors that entire summer. I cleaned high-res windows because it paid a lot of money on the side of swings and off scaffolding.
Yep.
Mom hated that, but I like high work. And I never forget, at the end of the summer, I had enough money saved up. And I remember sitting in the car. You ever pray those prayers and God answers it right away?
Right away? Yeah.
So I was in the backseat of our car. I think I was 17 by then. And I said, God, I really want a Jeep Cherokee, but this is all the money I have.
Those were those really boxy ones?
The boxy
Oh, they were
ones.
awesome. I wish we had those now.
It was my first car, 86 Grand Jeep Cherokee. I wish I still had that. It's
Heck
a collector's now.
Heck yeah.
But I finished praying. Dad pulled into this gas station. He was driving, and a Grand Cherokee pulled right in front of us with a for sale sign on the sign.
Wow.
And it was about $200 more than I had. And I go, Dad, that's what I want. He goes, well, see if he'll give it for you for what you had. So I confronted him, and he wouldn't back down. I was going to be like 100 short. And my dad walked up and he goes, we'll follow you to the house. We'll sign it over. My dad paid that additional 100, but he did not let me know he was going to do that.
Yeah.
My dad we were not supposed to ask for things. We worked for things. My dad would help meet that end for us, but he never promised it.
Right.
And I look back at that, and I remember being agitated that I had an old car and all my friends had brand new cars.
Same here. Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm so glad my dad raised me that way.
Yeah.
Because he taught me to be productive.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, I have a job where I don't have a boss over me keeping my schedule. And had I not been raised that way, I would have probably never developed the skills to be able to do that.
Sure.
And I think we miss out on making our kids productive by giving them opportunities to be productive. And not every family is going to own a business, but there's something that can be done to teach your children to be productive. And
that's what I'm asking. So let's name a couple of those things.
Yeah.
Let's figure out, like, to make this applied, what are some things that you guys have seen people do that shifts the mindset? I'll give you one, for instance, hospitality. So we have 2 girls. If I can teach them, or Brooke can teach them, to be hospitable and to prepare the table, like when we have the theology and formation small group, or when we have Sabbath dinner or something like that, and teach them to add that value. They're not capable of starting a business right now, but they can have some sort of ownership of that process.
Yes.
And
adding value without cost.
Okay.
I think
right.
children need to learn that too.
Yeah.
It's like when I take my kids over to my mom's house to do something, it's like you do things for your grandmother because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that with them and teach them to do that, they're not going to teach their kids to do that when I'm elderly.
Also, saving money is making money. So in a sense, you're teaching them to help their grandmother save some money. And so they're adding value. Even if they're not actually producing the income, they're saving her from having to spend that on somebody else.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good one. You got anything?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on how you use the word productive too.
Yeah. Okay.
Because
I haven't defined it.
But I think, like, if you're asking people to kids to just add to the household in some way, because in economic terms, you can be a producer or you can be a consumer. Everybody's a consumer.
Yep.
But if you're not also producing something at the same time, you've got to depend on other people to produce extra, and you must sap from them.
Yep.
Now, everybody starts out as 100% consumer, because when you're a newborn,
all you
can't do anything.
Yep.
But as you watch your kids, and you know your own kids, right? You know what they're capable of, and start giving them tasks and responsibilities to do. And like, I started to do that with my my oldest son, especially, because he's 11 now, and he's like, well, do I get paid for this? And I was like, you get to live here. That's
rent-free, brother.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, mostly.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. Yeah. No, I don't charge my 11-year-old rent, but you better pay or you're out.
Narrator says, but he actually
does.
does.
But I think just teaching people to add, because like you said, because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because what's expected.
And work is good.
Yeah.
We're also teaching them that work is good.
Yeah. My dad
Work
actually
is
used
righteous.
to say that, because if I'm being honest, when I was a kid, I was a lazy kid.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to do anything.
And I have to say, as an adult,
He's a lazy
I'm a
adult.
slightly less.
Slightly less lazy.
But well, you can cut this off if you feel like we need to. But I came on staff. The person I replaced, I guess, like, never came to work, and I was like, "This is awesome." Compared to the person that I'm replacing,
Yeah,
I can't possibly lose.
Yeah.
I just have to show up, and I've done a good job. But just showing that, when you're in a family, everybody that needs to be adding to that family.
Yeah.
And that also goes on if you are part of a church. Our family is a part of this church.
Yes.
And so we do things every week. I don't know why we have to have the same conversation every week. My kids say, "Can we leave? Your dad's one of the pastors here." Okay. So I'm going to be talking to people. I may even need to lock up if the other two bums get out before me.
Which we do. Somehow we always find our way out.
And that's the thing. Yeah. I don't know about you. My uncle, when I was early in the ministry, he said, you can do one of two things. Either it can be your ministry and it be a burden to your family, or you can make your ministry your family's ministry and they can participate. And it changes their attitude towards it. From early on, it's like, hey, everybody's gone. We need to lock up. Colin, you get the lights. Carson, you do this. And they got to the point, like, to this
making
day,
the coffee.
To this day, we get in. I don't even tell the kids. They just do their jobs because it's their ministry.
And we notice them, by the way, in case they actually listen to one of these, we notice them when they're gone. Like, when you guys were out of town, we got there. It's like, wait, there's not coffee made. What? How do we make this coffee? What do we do? It's like, because Colin just does it, So we do notice that.
This is a study from done by Rossman in 2002, University of Minnesota. They followed 84 people from childhood to adulthood and said the number one thing that they've seen in success from people in their mid-20s is how many chores they participated in the house as children.
Wow.
So children who participate in being a part of the household economy and the household responsibilities do better as adults than kids who don't do anything.
Well, and that leads into this point. So in chapter 7, we talk about the home as the political act. And they say, in a world increasingly hostile to traditional values and biblical truth, the faithful Christian household stands as a vital act of resistance and a powerful witness to the transformative power of the gospel. Statists and technocrats instinctively understand the inherent challenge that strong, rightly ordered households pose to their ambitions.
Amen.
And so we're putting a limit on the state's power by just having productive homes, and teaching our kids that education matters. It's funny, we had all these verses that we wanted to read, and we've passed up all of them. But Deuteronomy 6 is a big one, where it's talking about teaching your kids when you rise, when you go to bed, when you walk by the way.
We can never quote that enough.
Exactly. And so the point is, like, you're teaching them when you're trying to teach them, but you're actually probably teaching them more just by showing them.
It is.
You said something. What is it? You catch.
More is caught than taught.
More is caught than taught. I love that. Yeah.
It is. That your kids are watching you. The one adage I got from one of my preachers that I looked up to as a kid, he'd always say, "Do you realize that you're the only gospel your kids read until they learn to read?" And it's like, what you do, how you carry yourself, how you talk is presenting a gospel to your kids.
Yeah.
What is your life presenting to your kids? And I think we need to ask that question often. And even when they start reading, Colin and I have been having a conversation, because he's fresh high school graduate, starting college, trying to figure out his life. And we were talking about what it means to have fire in your bones as a man. And I said,
that's a great book, by the way.
Oh, it is a great book.
There's a
Fire
book
in
called
Your
With
Bones.
Fire in Our Bones. It's a great book.
I was talking to him.
TheOldForgePress.com.
I was talking to him. I said, as a young man, you're a warrior. I said, but if you don't become a sage warrior and a poetic warrior, then you failed.
Warrior poet.
You got to become a warrior poet. I said, you start off as a warrior, but you become more sage with age.
Yeah.
And I said, so you should never stop growing, because one day you won't be able to swing the sword, but you better have the respect of the young men so you can teach them how to swing their sword.
Sage with age, it rhymes.
Huh?
It must be true.
It must be
Sage
true.
and age rhymes. All right. So if our aspiration is truly to see a restoration of Christian culture and influence, then our strategy must begin where God himself has so often begun, within the four walls of our homes, around the unassuming yet profound, significant kitchen table where faith is not just discussed, but lived, one shared meal at a time. And so we've talked about that. I think we've beat that drum so many times. Like, one of the best things that you can do to make a strong home is sit down and eat dinner together, right? And then once you get into the habit of doing that, add in this thing called family worship.
Amen.
Read a passage, read a psalm, read one of the short psalms. Start there. When you get to that point, then you can do some catechism. We love just reading like fiction books. We were talking about this inside while we were eating dinner. One of the primary indicators of how intelligent a child will be is whether their parents read to them or not.
It's a
read
culture,
to your kids.
a culture of reading.
Yeah.
Particularly. Yeah. So there's a lot of statistics between the ages or between the grades of kindergarten and fifth grade. Parents who read during the summer, kids have a much higher turnout reading skills later in life.
Yeah.
So if you are not a reader, and if that benefits your kids, what more better benefit than to pick stories that teach theological truth, moral truth, scripture itself, read things that have an impact that will make them grow into wise men and women.
Yep.
And I think reading, that was when our kids were little, one of the number one, because we were ministry. Heather and I raising a family of 5 on $32,000 a year for the good all the way into our 30s. We were poor. And so it was a normal thing to get up on Saturday morning. I'd cook eggs or pancake. That was my thing. Dad always cooked a breakfast on Saturday morning.
Hey, he did that for us when we went to the conference.
Yes, you did. Are we your kids now?
Huh? Yeah, we're your kids.
No, well, Colin was there. He was there. It was just normal for him.
Yeah.
But we would then go and play in the park, and then we'd go to the bookstore.
Yeah.
And I would
or the library,
or the
right?
library
Where it's free. Yeah.
Well, the bookstore used to have those trains, and so when Colin was really too little to really want to pay attention, he'd play with the train while Alyssa was sitting on my lap reading Bearstein Bears.
Yep.
So
what's funny?
So you were trying to teach her Zionism back then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what's funny is that I was having
Berenstein.
You got it.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to you guys earlier about how I always have my kids do these like workbooks in the summer to keep their minds fresh, since they don't forget what things that they've done. And
that's a big time privilege.
And I was having my younger son read this short story. It was only like 2 paragraphs, and then you answer some questions about it, so you have the reading and the reading comprehension.
Yeah.
And it mentioned the bookstores.
Yeah.
And my younger son read. He was able to read it pretty easily because it's just the word. He knows the word book and stores, and you just put it together. But he's like, "Do they really have those?
What are bookstores?"
And I was like, "Yeah." You haven't really been to a lot of bookstores, because when I buy books, they just come in the
mail.
In the
Amazon.
mail. It's got
Yeah, my kids were pre-Amazon.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. We go to Barnes and Noble all the time, even if we're not planning on buying anything. Although whenever you go, you end up buying something. But the girls love the library. They, in fact, we'll buy books and then they'll go to the library, and I'm like, we have all these books. Why are you going to the library? But they just love going to the library. So I think bookstores are great. It's
a culture. It's also a form of pride, I think.
I
think all of us have like abnormally large libraries.
I like bookstores, but I do have a trouble finding things that I want.
Really?
Yeah, like
I find stuff that I'm like, I'll probably never read this.
I would have never thought,
but I'm going to get it anyway.
Well, I want to buy things, spend money on things I'm actually going to.
I'm a consumer, so I
just
like to buy stuff.
What I a lot of times do is if I hear of a topic, I'm like, I don't know about that or that,
right.
or somebody or I'm like, I wonder if there's a book about that. So you go to Amazon, you can find like every book that's in print that's about it, and so
Amazon kind of ruined Because part of the fun,
yeah.
I like before Amazon, you would go to the bookstore looking for a specific subject, and you would stumble upon things you weren't thinking about.
That's true.
That's gone now.
That's true. Although I think you could still do that because, you go to Amazon, it says like other people who've looked at this book have
Yes.
also
Yeah,
looked at
right.
these. And so I guess I'm one of the people who killed.
Well, here's what I'd
killing the
recommend.
bookstores.
Micro publishers. You should definitely
Micro
find
publishers,
micro
like
publishers
what?
like the Old Forge Press or
Or-
Dust and Glory Media.
Yes, that's true. You got to go there.
Yeah.
So those are good things.
Which is online.
DustandGloryMedia.com.
Which is online, correct?
They're both online.
It's not a book.
Yes,
It's
that's
not
right.
an actual physical.
That's right.
store.
That's right. That's true.
There's a
Yes.
brick and mortar. You can come to Grace Point Church on any Sunday.
You can come to
And
this
we will
garage
sell
right now.
you-
Yes,
Yes.
we have a plethora of books. If you can find us in the basement,
yeah.
Hey,
All right, so-
are we winding down?
we are.
Okay. Can I
Yeah.
just read? I want to read it. We've talked a lot about husbands,
Yeah.
men in the home.
Yeah.
So I just like to go ahead and read this.
Are you gonna read
for
Proverbs 31?
Yes,
I
yes,
knew it.
I am.
All right.
Yes, I am. So I want to kind of preface this where it says in Proverbs 31 verse 10, it says, "An excellent wife who can find?
Mm-hmm.
She is far more precious than jewels." And we basically have like an economic statement here
Yes.
that can you find an excellent wife? And the thing is that the fact that she's more precious than jewels mean an excellent wife is rare. And here's why. Here is all the things that an excellent wife does. So this is something that all women listening to this right now should strive to be. If you are a single man, this is what you ought to be looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But it says in verse 11, it says, "The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not harm all the days of her life. She seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the ships of the merchant. She brings her food from afar."
Wait, she's like the ships of the merchant. Is that concerning her size?
So she's a ship. She comes into the harbor.
So she's not a brick house.
She floats.
She's
I'm just going to keep reading. She rises while it is yet night and provides food for her household and portions for her maidens. She considers a field and buys it. With the fruit of her hand, she plants a vineyard. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. She perceives that her merchandise is profitable. Her lamp does not go out at night. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. She opens her hand to the poor and reaches out her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed in scarlet. She makes bed coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates, and when he sits among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them. She delivers sashes to the merchant. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she laughs at the time to come.
Yeah.
She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women have done excellently, but you surpass them all.
Yeah.
Charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates.
Yeah.
And that was a very long, extended passage, but it talks of a very active, working wife
with a household economy.
with it's working in the household, but also kind of doing stuff outside of the household.
Honestly,
as well.
what it's saying is that she's an economic engine.
Yeah.
She's producing. She's saving. She's producing.
She's involved in all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Well, and
Yeah.
it goes back to the biblical precepts. Husbands are to put the seed of them taking dominion
Mhm.
into the hands of their wives.
That's right.
And their wives are to increase it. That's what the virtuous woman's doing. She's taking money and buying a property, but her husband is where? Her husband's in the gate, which means he's an elder
Mhm.
of the city, but he has even more honor in that gate because of the kind of wife she is.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful
Yeah.
picture of a biblical helpmeet.
That's good.
Mhm.
That's good. I'm going to end. So one of the things that we haven't really been doing but in each chapter in this book has marching orders at the end of it. And so I want to read some of those.
Are they marching orders or are they tactical guides,
They
or
are.
are they field orders,
They-
or the
Well, it depends on the book. I try to mix it up a little
yeah,
bit.
as long as it
It's-
has to do with
It's
war.
it's
Yeah.
always very warlike.
Like, okay.
But so the first one I said, audit your household economy, track your expenses, right? Find out where your money is going, figure out if there's things that you are already doing. I mean, honestly, if you think about it, we have never lived in a time where you can produce on such a small scale and still actually do something. There are lower barriers to entry for a lot of these productive things. Like, I mean, there are people that are, making 5 things and selling them on Etsy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, you can produce stuff nowadays, even if it's just creating spreadsheets and selling those. You can print books that have like journals. You don't even have to actually write,
You can go on apps and create entire marketing websites
Yes.
with
You
just
can-
a thought.
You can go in your parents' garage and
Start
make
a podcast
podcasts with a bunch of neckbeards.
Exactly. That's right. Bunch of grifters. Neckbeards. Reclaim the table is number 2. I held up 1, but I mean number 2.
Numbers are hard.
Yeah, numbers are hard for some of us. Recover household worship, number 3. Number 4, take responsibility for education. We didn't talk about that one much purposefully because we've done a lot on education before, but education is really important. As the parents, you are the primary educator, not your school, not your church. You're the primary educator. The school is there to help you. If you're homeschooling, you're obviously their teacher too. We have a class, or we have a Christian school with our church. That's great. But again, you've said it before, you're not their primary teacher. Like, you teach, but at home they should be teaching as well. You're there to support. As a youth pastor, you're there to support them. But they're with you 1 or 2 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
Start producing together. So it could be a thing like, a garden to have the vegetables, or it could be a side business. It could be, hospitality, any of those things. Anything that I missed, those are the marching orders, but anything that I missed that you guys want to add there? No?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, then I would say build your home as if the future of Christendom depended on it, because it does.
Amen.